Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the First Class, Second Place podcast. I'm your host, Jason Enrique, and we got some special First Class guests up in the building today. But before we continue, I want to remind everybody that we are live in Bravery Studios in Garfield, New Jersey. Shout out to Steve behind the glass. What's going on, Steve? I haven't seen you in a minute. It's good to see you again, brother. One of the greatest producers of all time, Steve Franchese, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Before I introduce these guests, I got to think. What is the word that I'm thinking about right now? The thing that comes to mind is love. And I love these people, and they just love me back. And it's also, ironically, the name of their production, Love Your Face Films. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Letty, Buchanan, and Lebron are in the building. What is going on, everybody?
First, okay.
Yes.
I'm a little offended by something.
Uh-oh. Okay.
You said Steve is the best producer?
One of the best producers of all time.
Okay, one of the.
Yes.
No offense, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
No offense. But I think I hold the title for the best producer.
Hey. Okay. All right.
Sorry, Steve. Still love. As the young people do.
As the young people do.
Considering I helped produce Betty, that was a backhanded compliment.
Eddie.
You're not going to win. You're not going to win.
He's a great producer. But you're not like a full-time producer.
But I'm not you.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, guys, I really, really appreciate you guys coming through. This has been a long time in the making. I've been wanting to have you guys on the show for a number of years now, ever since I saw this fantastic film that you two made called 21st Century Courtship. But we'll get into all of that and all the other projects that you guys have with Love Your Face Productions and everything. So I actually want to start from the beginning. And we're going to start with you, because ladies first. Where do you come from? Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised we're in Jersey. In New York.
Okay.
New York. I was born in Flushing, Queens.
Okay.
And then grew up on Long Island. Long Island.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Eddie?
Born in Brooklyn and then raised in upstate New York. And then somehow ended up in Manhattan, then Connecticut, which is a temporary solution. I hate having Connecticut as a part of my DNA. No offense to any Connecticut viewers. You do you, I do me. It's just not going to be in Connecticut.
Would it be okay for me to ask why Connecticut at the moment?
I made some bad decisions in
Okay.
2020 involving my ex.
A bad decision.
A bad decision.
A singular.
Yeah, a singular bad decision, but then I liked my apartment so much I haven't upped and moved. Then again, when I'm in Connecticut, I don't really leave my apartment. I just go right to the city. There's no in between. It's either in my apartment, the city.
Oh, well, I'm sorry that, but at least you got a beautiful apartment. You got something out of the deal.
And a pool.
Okay.
There's
Excuse
a
me.
And a
pool.
gym.
And a gym.
And a gym. Okay, all right. So I don't know what the hell you're complaining about, but either way.
Outside the walls is what I'm complaining about.
Okay, fair enough. So obviously, you guys are known for filmmaking. I mean, that's how I got introduced to you guys and everything. And I want to start with you, Letty. Like, what made you wanted to get into this foray in the beginning? Like, did you know really early on as a little girl that you wanted to be in this industry, or did you have other dreams and aspirations before that actually happened?
No, when I was a little girl, I studied music.
Okay.
I did music all throughout my adult life. And then I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I ended up in television.
Okay.
And I started working for CNBC for the late Louis Rukeyser, and that was my start in television. And then I progressed from CNBC to where did I go? HBO. I did Taxi Cab Confessions, and then
Oh, wow.
yeah, that was a wild ride.
I could
saw
imagine.
a lot of things
If it was a
on that
wild
show.
ride just being a viewer, I could only imagine what it was like on set.
Oh yeah, that was a
And
lot
behind
of
the
fun
scenes,
though.
yeah.
It was a lot of fun working on that show. And then after that, I went to the Food Network, and I was there for a few years. I took some time off, had my little ones, left the country for a while, started teaching. And then Eddie actually gave me my start in film. When he was doing 21st, he originally hired another producer that he used to work with, but that producer wasn't able to do the job. And I just kept telling Eddie, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And then he gave me the chance on 21st, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. And Eddie, for you, growing up, did you know pretty much that you wanted to be in film at a very early age, or was it something that you fell into as well?
Oh, since I was 10.
Okay.
I didn't know it beforehand, but my life was movies since my earliest memory. Movies was my best friend. Movies was my life. Movies was my everything, my coping mechanism. And then a camera entered my hands when I was 10. And then that's when things made sense. And I wanted to make movies, but I didn't think it would be a career until I was like 16, 17, thinking about college. Because my parents were grooming me to be an attorney or an accountant or something a lot more stable. But they supported me begrudgingly, and then I just been doing that ever since. Like it's a daily, it's like daily circulation inside my my body. Like it is a part of me. It's all I. At the end of the day, if I forgot everything that mattered day by day in terms of how to act and function as a human, the one that would stick with me is movies and filmmaking.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned about them begrudgingly supporting you, because I get this all the time from people in the industry. It doesn't matter if they're behind the scenes or in front of a camera. There's always that story, that stigma where the families they're supportive to an extent because they know how much of a savage industry it could be, even if they're not in it, because they see all these cautionary tales, and it's based on a lot of luck and who you know and how hard are you willing to work for this passion. Because let's face it, there's a lot of people that want to do something in this industry for all the wrong reasons. A lot of them are vanity, and it never works out. And this is an industry that will chew you up and spit you out. The saying is true. That's what happens, and it has ruined so much lives of people that try to do something, and it can be very sad to see sometimes.
It's true. It's not this industry is not for the weak or those that don't have tough skin.
Right.
I mean, you Letty, you know this. Like on a day by day basis, I could be soft about certain things, but in this business, we have to be hard. Like opinions and egos run rampant, and everyone has their own agenda. So all you can do is focus on yourself and your craft and your art, and just go day by day and be who you are and make what you got to make and get better, and just ignore the noise that tries to keep you down.
There's a lot of criticism, a whole lot of criticism in this business, no matter what aspect you're in of it. So you just really have to kind of roll with the punches and just have a thick skin.
And going back to the music though, like what was it exactly that drew you to music in the beginning? Like what was it like? Were there certain like artists or music in particular that made you really inspired, and then afterwards life just pivoted in a different direction?
I always had an interest in music. My grandmother was a concert pianist. My uncle was a bass player. So music was always in my family.
You come from a musically inclined family.
I do.
Okay.
I do for the most part. And when I say it was like elementary school, we went on a class trip to Long Island Philharmonic, and I cried, and they made fun of me, the class, because I was just so moved by classical music. And then I started playing recorder like everybody else does, and then clarinet, and then I started in choruses in the symphony orchestra and band and that sort. And as I got older, I started playing other instruments. I was playing piano, then I started singing opera, and that was actually my major in college. I was an opera theater major. So when I finished school, I did a couple of auditions, but I went to school in Oklahoma. Coming to New York, it was really competitive.
I can imagine.
It was really hard, but I was always involved in church music. So I did praise and worship at church, so I always got that fulfillment. And then I started working in music distribution, which I don't even think that's even necessary now, because there's no records and CDs and that much anymore. So I don't even think my position is even in existence anymore. But I did music distribution for a while. And then I did kind of like, stuffing gift bags for, I think it was Columbia Records. At the time I was temping there, and it was either Columbia or BMG. I'm sorry, I don't really remember. It's so many years ago. And then I started to see I wasn't really making too much money, and I didn't really know where I wanted to go. So I started temping, and I was with this one temp agency, and I was just doing, administrative work here and there while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And they had a position working as executive assistant for Louis Rukeyser of CNBC. So as I started working for him, a few of the other anchors, mostly the anchors of color, just kind of took me under their wing, and they were pushing me and started teaching me other positions. And that's how I, started becoming like a production assistant. And then I was able to get into field producing, and that's how I was able to groom into becoming a producer.
Yeah. So obviously, one of the things that I love about you as a person, I love you in general, but one of the things that is undeniable is your bubbly personality. I mean, I literally believe that there's no other human that I've ever met that is quite like you, and I don't think I'm ever going to. Now, how much? But like, where does that? If you don't mind me asking, like, where does that come from? Like, were you always like this, even just as a little girl, or it's just I don't know. Like, I really don't know how to really describe, but it's just a fascinating uniqueness about your personality that really just emanates a lot, especially when you're in the room.
I've always been like this. I know my name means sunshine and gladness, so maybe it has to do with my name. But I mean, even because I've battled with anxiety and depression for so many years, and a lot of people don't know that because I'm able to kind of stuff that down, and I don't project it in my personality. So maybe part of it is a coping mechanism for me, or I know when I'm nervous or I feel a lot of anxiety, I know I tend to be like all over the place. But I think I'm like that all the time. Even when I wake up or late at night when I'm exhausted, it's just, I don't know. That's just how I am.
Yeah, I mean, and it's fascinating to see the dynamic between the two of you because, and I say this respectfully, but Eddie's pretty much the polar opposite of it. Like he's the cool, calm, and collected kind. You know what I mean? Like he's as cool as that leather jacket that he's wearing. So
I'm very strategic in how I maneuver moment by moment.
But he's not like that all the time.
I
see there's a side of him that's very similar to me and even worse than I am.
I think it's when it's outside the profession.
Yeah.
Especially like when we're just out having fun and just being ourselves. Like that's when I let loose. But then when it's like when I'm on the clock, when Eddie is on the clock, day by day, this is the Eddie. You know when I'm on the clock because you can tell by my cadence and my personality.
I don't know how to turn it off. That's the problem with.
I don't think you should.
I'm like this on set. I'm like this in business atmosphere, and I'm like this when I'm around my friends. So it's I think too because for a while, I went through kind of an identity crisis, and I stifled who the real me was. Because, when a woman becomes a mother, you kind of drown yourself in your kids, and you kind of lose a little bit of who you are.
Yeah.
And for so many years, I drowned myself in my children, and I lost who I was. And one day someone came to me, and they asked me, oh, what are you interested in? What are your hobbies? And I couldn't answer. Like, I don't know what my hobbies are. I don't know things that I like. And so it took me some time to really learn myself again. And then once I did, now I'm unapologetically me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's perfectly emanates who you are. I mean, it describes you perfectly. And like I said, I don't think you should turn it off at all.
Thank you.
I don't think there's ever going to be a human being that I'm ever going to meet just like you. So keep that same energy. And at the end of the day, what you're being at the end of the day, you're just being yourself.
Yes.
That's all you could ever ask for. Just being yourself, especially in a world where there's a lot of people that are very insecure, have identity crisis, and a lot of fakeness and stuff like that. At the end of the day, your purest form of just living is just being yourself. So there you go.
I'm very calm right now. Look at it. I'm calm and quiet right now.
You weren't like that over the weekend.
Oh, it's going to come out. I feel it. It's bubbling.
Now, Eddie, you said something earlier about when you started making movies, it was your escape. It was like your therapy, this, that, and the third. Like, so I kind of follow that sentiment as well because to kind of give an example of kind of contextualize it. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Cable Guy with Jim Carrey, but there's a very underrated scene where they show Jim Carrey's character as a kid, where his mother is just going off to happy hour and there's nobody to watch him, nobody to babysit him, and it's just TV that's raising him. Now, my life wasn't that extreme, but it was true that I was always in front of the TV because there was just something about movies and film and TV shows that just always drew to me since the very, very beginning. I remember the first movie theater experience that I ever had, and it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. That's how far I go.
Wow.
That's how far I go back. But I feel that sentiment because there was a long time where, and I said this on my show plenty of times, when I saw Die Hard with a Vengeance on TV, and I wanted to not only be Bruce Willis, but I also wanted to be behind the scenes and direct, because I saw the behind the scenes featurette and I thought that looks fucking cool. I think that's what I want to do in my life. But I went in a different trajectory than you did, because you actually did something to go ahead and pursue that dream. I was more that kid, that stupid idiot kid that was like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. And nothing ever came up of it. So I think that you had a little bit more of a passion in it. That you discovered it a lot faster than I did, even though it was something that really interested me in the beginning. And I just pivoted to other things, and eventually I came back to it. And that's kind of what I'm into doing right now. But it's pretty cool to see that even at a young age, you knew what you wanted to do. And there was nothing that anybody can tell you that what you wanted to do with your life. You were going to pursue that no matter what. I mean, you even went against your family's wishes as being an attorney, and you're following a dream. And I think we need more people like that in this world.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll be the first to tell anyone to follow their dream. No dream is too small or stupid, especially when we're on borrowed time, which, it's my current mentality is like every day is potentially your last. So I'm the first to tell you all to make like stupid decisions, and you might get great prizes.
Weekend's coming up. Lots of stupid decisions to make.
Now, as far as continue on pursuing your dream, like, what were some of the trials and tribulations you faced, especially very early on in your career? Because usually it seems that when in this industry, the beginning of the road is the toughest, and if you can get over that, then you could achieve almost anything.
I think come down to like 3 hurdles, and I think the biggest was like just not having a leg up. I didn't have any family or any connections in this industry at all, so I had to completely start from scratch and make my own opportunities. I was also like raised in a small town in upstate New York, where it's just the closest to do anything is in the city, so it's like I had to forge a path from nothing. I had nothing. All I had, and my family was very hard, dead center middle class, like right in the middle of middle class. So getting the tools I needed to do what I needed to do, and even getting a part-time job as a kid, like I had to scrape and kind of do whatever I could to just get a decent camera, and then work with that, and then use that to create more opportunities. And when I went into film school, I was one of the few who was already doing stuff. And that gave me the leg up there, because I was the only one who was shooting things and learning how to light and studied my craft. And I think that's like my first like piece of advice to anybody is like really, really, really put the work in and make opportunities for yourself. Make your own movies, make your own art. Don't wait on anybody else. Absolutely not. I think that's like I'm the first person to be optimistic, but I think it's overly optimistic to think that someone's going to come around the corner and give you the check and give you the opportunity. Like, the only way that the person's going to come around and give you the check is if they hear you making noise from beyond the wall, and the only way to do that is make the noise.
Well, how about you, Letty? Because I think the question that I want to, pivot into, and it kind of falls in line with what I was asking him, is I'm pretty sure that some of the trials and tribulations that you had to go through as well, unfortunately, one of the hurdles that you probably had to go through was due to the fact that you are a Black female. And I've had many discussions with many women of minorities and all colors and shapes and everything, and it seems to be a thing. And I could only imagine some of the things that you had to go through, the original hurdles that maybe he or somebody else had did, but it was just a little more added layer due to the fact that you are a Black woman.
I did have some hurdles, but for some reason, I don't think that I had as many hurdles as a lot of other Black women, because I'm very loud and I come in busting through doors, and I don't really take no for an answer. And I'm sure other Black women do the same, but I just never really focused on it. Up until recently, now that, we've made that transition into the horror genre, there's no one that looks like me in it. There are very few women in the horror realm that you even hear of. I know there are plenty of us that are doing it, but then when you really think about it and you talk about people of color in the horror industry, other than Jordan Peele and Candyman, I can't remember his name. Oh my gosh.
Tony Todd.
Thank you, Tony Todd.
You mean Candyman director, right? The one of the remake?
The Candyman director.
Yeah, that was a woman.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know her name off the top of my head.
Exactly.
That wasn't really marketed or pushed well in terms of the individual behind it.
Exactly. But, other than them, can you name a single person of color?
By the way,
in
her name
horror
is
realm?
Nia DaCosta.
Thank you.
Nia DaCosta.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I forgot your name. But when I kind of started to notice that, I went from being terrified of horror and keeping it like very away from me to now I'm coming in busting through doors. I'm like, I'm going to do this because there are young little Black girls out there that are interested in this realm and they don't see anyone that looks like them.
Right.
So, and then when I was growing up, I was always the alternative goth Black girl growing up. I never conformed to the stereotype. And it used to depress me because I used to get called poser. I used to get told, oh, you're trying to be white. You're trying to act white. And I got bullied about it. I got talked to about it. I got threatened to get beaten up just from the music that I listened to and the way that I dressed. Mm-hmm. And I dressed the same way I do now back then. And so I didn't have really anyone to relate to and to look up to when I was that age. So, and I know there are young emo kids and goth kids out there, and I'm sure there's another phrase that I'm according to my kids, I'm cringe and I don't know, those words. But they're, they enjoy the horror aspect and they want to see people that look like them, and they don't. Mm-hmm. So once I noticed that, like, okay, whether I like it or not, this is the field for me.
Yeah.
And now I love it.
that is so interesting to see because, like, I remember very early on when we, got to know each other and before we started working and everything, that you were really not a horror person at all, but you just did a nosedive really into it, and now you're thriving. And who would have thought, never in a million years did you think that this would be your forte.
I didn't. And when we met at Smod Castle,
yes,
every horror movie that came, I walked out. I didn't want to watch it. I was terrified.
I remember that.
Wow.
I walked out of every single horror movie. I'm like, I'm not watching this. I'm not watching this. Except for Shannon's Tell Him. I stayed for that one because I always like aliens. I like sci-fi horror. That was my jam.
Yeah.
I always like that.
I didn't meet you two until the Q&A, so I had no idea that you left.
I walked out of.
I didn't know that.
I sit at the edge whenever we went to film festivals. I sit at the last seat of the row in case something really creepy comes on, and I get up and walk out.
And now you're just dead center right in the movie theater.
We just got back from a festival, and I didn't walk out from a single film. I only walked out when I had to use the restroom, but I stayed and watched everything. I barely covered my eyes. Maybe a couple of times I did like that, but now when I cover my eyes, I'm not completely covered. Now I'm like, ooh, what's happening? What's happening? And then you hear a squish, squish. And then I want to look at it because I'm like, ooh, how can we copy this in our films now? And I went from, a woman who hates horror to now a woman that makes horror.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah. Round of applause real quick, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on, Steve. Come on. Please. All you little Black girls out there, make some horror.
Now, I feel like I know this answer pretty already, Eddie, but I just want to ask you straight out and also for the audience's sake. So she mentioned earlier that, when it came to 21st Century Courtship and other projects that you guys, that you were working on, she kept on telling you, I could do this. At the end of the day, what was it that you saw in Letty specifically that gave you the confidence that, she actually can do this?
Yeah, I'd like to know this considering that I wasn't his first choice as a producer.
I actually don't think even when I agreed to you having it, if I think you could do it. I mean, I don't, because I've never seen you produce, like, I have a history with my previous producer. I've had that's the last time I worked with a group of producers that had limited history, but they still like done film stuff. Like, so this was like the first time I was taking a chance on someone I was like, I had no idea how you would do.
I do remember him saying to me, you never produced film before, because my background was TV.
TV, yeah.
So, but I'm like, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, if I can produce for large TV shows, really, how different is film?
That's what and that's the thing. It's I remember I was open-minded to you associating being an associate producer, so you can get your feet dirty. So then when it was like, that's the thing, I was at a point where it's either cancel the movie, produce it on my own, or let you produce it. And I'm like, okay, well, worst this could happen is you produce, you don't do good, you hate it, and we just figure out, okay, we'll just figure it out from there. The best thing that can happen is what happened, which is you rise up to the occasion, you do a great job, and
I'm sorry, I did a what?
you did a great job.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm there's some sound issues. I did a what?
You did a great job.
Oh gosh. Okay.
You should cut your hair. You probably can't hear with it.
Yeah, I know. Wait. Okay, wait. One more time.
You did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Wow, I just love to see this. See, this is what I'm talking about. That the camaraderie that you two have. I mean, it just seems it's foolproof. You know, I think I've told you guys this on multiple occasions, but I'll just say this right now to the audience. So, I did meet you guys at Smart Castle, and there was a bunch of films, great films that were being premiered there, including mutual friends of ours, Chris Abalo's The Out, which is coming out soon, and other festivals as well. So shout out to them and shout out to Hugo. But respectfully to them and everybody else, hands down, 21st Century Courtship was my absolute favorite film of the festival. I think you guys, if it was awards given out or whatever, I would have given you guys Best Picture personally. I thought that it just took me to another level. And what really fascinated me is, I don't know what the budget was. I don't know how you guys do that. And I'm not even going to ask you. I'm not going to get in your pockets like that. But
oh no, but you should. You should ask him. The producer. I forgot who was the producer of 21st. Who was that?
Letty's a very modest individual.
And how much under budget was it?
I think you saved like $2,500 from the budget.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is because it seemed like it, according to my eye, it looked like it was from a modest budget, but the way that you guys worked with what you had, from the visual effects aspect and so on and so forth, and just the look of the camera, the editing, everything just looked so top notch. And I think that's what really impressed me, besides the story and the characters that were developed, and also the vibe of the film. I mean, the vibe was very like Nicholas Winding Refn from Drive. That's what that's the vibe that I got from it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and and to my understanding, you wrote that screenplay and you directed it. So, pretty simple, basic question: what was the inspiration behind that? Because it seemed like not only were you kind of creating an allegory for what dating is like, and I think that's why it was so relatable, but it also seemed like it drew from personal experience as well.
Oh yeah, it came from a lot of emotional trials and tribulations and dating, finding love, and getting out of a 10-year relationship and not really being able to make sense of a lot of things. And I didn't want the film to be focused solely on apps, because I feel like that's the safest, like that's the most stereotypical, like just cliche way of going about dating nowadays is like in a film, it's like apps. And I'm like, it's like one peg of like a much bigger machine. Mm-hmm. So it's about who you meet in a bar, like the friend that hooks you up with another friend, the apps, the hookup that maybe you walk past on the street and something happened, and the long-term relationship that still lingers. Like I wanted to kind of go through my own little therapy and explore all the confusion that I was dealing with, and kind of putting that against a nostalgic background, because I feel like most people nowadays, I use nostalgia and just music of the 80s and films of the 80s and all these things of my past and childhood to kind of ground myself and cope with the reality of today and the reality of the future. Mm-hmm. So it made sense to kind of put that film and my current emotional hurdles against the backdrop of something comforting through nostalgia. And it's also just a more unique way to kind of visit and see these types of hurdles you go in the dating scene.
When you finally made the final cut, how therapeutic was it for you?
I felt great. Like it's one of the best, like I would even say the first cut was one of the best like first cuts I ever sat through. I felt really good. It felt really natural. It felt like my voice hit the screen, and it's very rare when I feel that. Mm-hmm. And Letty will even be the first to say there's like films I've made over the last like 5 years that don't hit the way that first cut of 21st hit. Like even like recent films, like it's you know me, I'm very like emotionally journey driven. I'm a very from the heart to the screen type of person, and 21st was one of the few moments where like
I felt that.
Yeah, getting that first cut all the way to the final cut, like that felt therapeutic and emotionally satisfying.
Right, and that was the beautiful thing about that film. Like I felt for that runtime, I was in a trance because I was really relatable to the characters. I thought it was well paced. I thought it was well written. The nostalgia of it and the feel of it. And then the biggest surprise for me, and it made me so happy, and it made me realize two things. One, this is a really small fucking world that we live in, and two, I must be making friends with the right circles, because one thing that I was not expecting to see was a mutual friend of ours, Rachel La Loca, right in the middle of our film. Like I had no idea that she was in that film. I just went there. I just went there to support friends. Excuse me. And then I see her on the big screen. I'm like, holy shit, no way, she's in this film. This is amazing. So I just felt like it was destiny, for lack of a better term. And then as soon as the festival was over in the Q&A, I made my way to do the rounds and introduce myself. I'm Jason Enrique. I got this stupid little podcast, blah blah blah. But I had to. I couldn't leave that building without speaking to you guys, because I thought when it came to that film, fucking bravo, fucking bravo.
21st is Eddie on the screen. It embodies him as a person. It tells his story, his past, his musical taste, his style, even his style as a filmmaker. That film is 100% and authentically him.
Right.
And I'm really, really proud. I'll joke around about the whole producer thing about it, but I'm really, really proud to have been a part of that, especially being a lot of the story I lived with him. I saw him go through these things with these, I won't say the word, but these nice women.
These lovely women.
These lovely, lovely human beings. But as much as I have a bad taste for these women, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have such a great film. And I'm really, really proud of him.
And one of the things that I also think is inspiring is I know what it's like, and I know other people like me that have been able to want to get into a business venture or some kind of creative process with their best friends, and then it never works out for some reason or another. And I just think that it's really inspiring, and kind of makes me jealous a little bit to see that you guys are legitimately best friends. Like, you guys spend a lot of time with each other, you talk every day, you're inseparable, and yet you're still able to make this business venture work. And it's and I don't know how you guys do it. It's a very fine line, but you guys make it work, and it's very inspiring to see. And I just wish that I was able to have opportunities like that with people that I worked with in the past. But who knows? Maybe maybe it could happen in the future.
Never know.
You can. One thing I will say about us is when we're in friendship mode, we are in friendship mode. But when we are in business mode, it's 100% that. And there have been times where we were on set and we had massive arguments with each other in friendship mode prior to that. But once we're on set, that's it.
Right.
And he knows how I work. I know how he works. We understand each other's expressions. And I can tell you when he's got the shot, when he doesn't have the shot. I can tell when he's annoyed by an actor. I can tell when he's annoyed by crew. I can tell when he's just annoyed by the atmosphere. And I can tell when he's just annoyed by life, because that's it.
Yeah. Well, I've been very fortunate to work with both of you, and hopefully I haven't annoyed you guys too much yet.
Yeah.
So
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at
Right.
all.
It's interesting because you and I, like, we do have different dynamics, and based on what we're doing, I think you'll be the first to admit when it's friendship mode, I'm a softie.
Yes.
I'm very indecisive. I'm a bit of a pushover. In directing mode and filmmaking mode, I'm very like, it's one of the few times I know I can say no to you, and I'm like, I don't care if you disagree with me. I respect you, which is actually good to have that relationship with you, where it's like, I will listen to everything you say and listen to your opinion, but I'll believe in myself. And you are the same way, which I absolutely love, which is you don't just say yes to me because you think I'm more experienced or I have more history doing this.
Right.
You're very clear in your vision, you're very clear what you want. I know there have been a few times, and I don't fight with you when it comes to that. There have been a few times, like even in your directorial debut, Betty, there were a few editing notes I had, and you're like, nope. And I'm not even, I won't even say you're wrong because you're the director. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I would be like, she's got a vision, she's got a decision. And I feel like it's funny because when we're friends, we're so like, I know you say you're hard, but we're softies with each other.
I'm hard.
But when we're in filmmaking mode, we're very respectful of each other, but also of ourselves. And I feel like that somehow brings us together because we're our very authentic, creative selves. And there's just so much, like, I respect you tremendously. And I feel your respect towards me. And we're very respectful of our vision, but also we respect that we bring something different to the table. And I think that's, like, so far the combination has been, I think, great. Like, I love working with you. You're the favorite director I've ever worked with in my life.
Oh my God.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's still taking some getting used to being referred to as a director because I never really aspired to be a director. I never really had the desire to be a director. And when Shoshana came to me,
Shout out to Shoshana Withers.
Shoshana, whoop whoop, show.
Former first class guest. Absolutely.
What up, show? When she came to me with Betty and she said she wanted me to direct, I said, are you sure that, I'm not a director. That's Eddie's thing.
Right.
And I even pulled Eddie aside after I spoke to her and I said, I didn't want to overstep him.
Okay.
Because I respect him a great deal as a director and I will never overstep him. Even if I don't agree with something on set, I'll either pull him aside or I'll just bite my tongue.
Right. Well, let me also stop you there because I kind of disagree with what you were saying that if you never really felt like you saw yourself as a director or anything, because I was also very fortunate to work on another project with you guys, Love and Hatred and Megawave City, which I can't wait to see the final product. And
another Shoshana show.
That's where I met the lovely Shoshana Withers. But the point that I'm getting at is there was a particular scene where, ironically, I was in the scene with Shoshana, and then she did her thing with Christopher. I forget the gentleman's last name. There you go. Yeah, shout out to him. And there was just a really great scene between the two of them. And behind the scenes and after you yell cut, I see you get emotional. I don't think I've ever seen you this emotional before. Yeah. And I took that as a sign of two things. One, you're making your dream fucking come true finally. And two, you are supposed to be doing what you're doing. And you're achieving something that most people wish that they can dream of doing.
Thank you. Well, when we were shooting Love and Hatred in Megawave City, Eddie actually said that I could direct the scene with the extras. And I said, oh, okay, I can do that. But I knew he wanted me to do that because Eddie really didn't want to deal with all that amount of people with the extras. And I did the same thing.
By the way, people, don't blink or you'll miss me. Continue.
You're in there a couple of times. He played two different roles.
Yeah, you're very prominent in that argument scene you were just referring to. You're like right there in the center of the frame, and you do a little tie thing. And
you added nice little bits to that.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it was for me in that moment? I wanted to show my worth because I felt already fortunate that I was able to work and with you guys and just be very fortunate to be in that situation. And I didn't want to take it for granted, but I also wanted to show my worth because, all right, I feel like something is finally presented itself as an opportunity. Let me try to make the most of it, and because I don't want this to be like a flash in the pan kind of thing. Like I don't want it to be that guy. I didn't want to seem to be that guy that, oh, you guys are filmmakers. Well, guess what? I'm starting into acting. No, I actually wanted to prove my worth to you guys, and I guess more to myself that I want to do this. I want to take this seriously because you said we're on borrowed time. I don't know how much time we have left on this earth. Certainly, I don't, and I just want to make the most with what I can. And I just, if you guys ran with it, great. If not, at least I try to prove myself out there.
Oh, you did absolutely fantastic. I was really proud.
Yeah. I love the touches you brought, and I thought you did great. It's funny because the scene that you're in is, people are gonna love that scene, you and I are going to find it secretly funny only
Yes.
because that's the thing. When people are in the moment, they're just like, oh my goodness. And then you come back at the end in the very final shot and you kind of take your position next to show. And it's like a really lovely moment. But then me and Letty are thinking about like, Jason just saw them fight really hard for like 3 minutes. And he's probably walking up to me and like, what the fuck was going on there? What's wrong with you all?
There's so many little it's such a serious scene, but there was, like Eddie was saying, there were so many little things in there that make us just laugh. There's one scene where whenever I have a teenage son and he's very moody, and whenever he's a moody teen. Whenever
Cringe.
he gets in trouble or I say something he doesn't like, he just goes, wow, just wow. So Eddie and I walk around just saying that, just copying wow, just wow. And he snuck it into the script.
So to everybody else, it's not funny. It's just a guy getting angry and upset. But then we watch it, it's just like, well, just wow.
And I started laughing and I felt so badly about it. But it was from my moody teenager.
Right. But that's also great. That's what I love about the process of the filmmaking, is that you could draw on personal experiences and make that into something. Who knows? Maybe that actually might be the most prominent thing that people remember in the film. I don't know. I haven't seen the full cut, but it's kind of like when Jeff Goldblum was delivering his line in Annie Hall. It's going to live in forever lore because of the way he delivered it.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah, and it's funny because the opening shot is the whole city, and
Yes.
each of her kids their names have cameos as businesses. And I remember like your youngest literally got upset because his logo for his business, which is like a buffalo wing place,
Yes.
and the other is like a tech company. Your youngest was upset. He's like, my sign is smaller. I can't see it. I was like, now we're dealing with tiny egos now. He's like, make my sign bigger.
Oh my God.
He was so mad, and he's like, I don't want a chicken place, I want a sports bar.
I did change it to a sports grill
And then my
on a
oldest
Scottish
son-
flag.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
yeah, that was on the Scottish flag. And then my oldest son has this big neon tech company. It's like Clyde Tech, and he's like, yeah. And then my youngest one is like, Eddie didn't do it right.
Oh my God.
And I had to point in the background. It's like, it's right there. You see that? That little animating chicken wing, that's you.
Do you know how many times we had to rewind and pause and rewind and pause?
It's clear in 4K.
These kids are like executive producers.
Oh,
it
they
seems
are.
like.
Yeah. Well, both of my boys worked on 21st.
I did not know that.
Yes, they
Okay.
did the one of the dating scenes, the exposure.
The guy that
scene.
exposes himself. Oh, yeah, because we shot a pickup against a green screen that I brought to Letty's place, and the kids were there, so we had them build a light, and like one of them was like putting his hand on a stand to make sure it didn't fall over. Even though he didn't have to do it, we just wanted them to feel
They
included.
felt so important.
Oh.
Oh, and then we had your oldest yell cut in action just for fun.
Oh, nice.
And quiet on the set.
Quiet
But then
on
there
the
was one
set.
point I think he forgot to say it, and it was like, oh yeah, quiet on the set.
See the inspiration that you guys are already drawing on your kids.
good.
Oh, they don't want to be in film at all.
I mean, no.
No,
well,
but-
We've inspired them out of the business.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
But they do have fun doing it. I try to include them in all the projects that we do somehow. So if I think on 21st they donated $1 each to the budget.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
So that they can have their names in the credits.
Now, I've seen 21st Century a couple of times already, and it's been submitted in many festivals and got a lot of critical acclaim and everything. I know that we're going to get into your film a little bit, but continue on with Love and Hatred in Megawave City. Like, I know that. So, are you guys like finished editing and everything? Are you submitting it to festivals?
Yeah, we've been submitting to festivals. It's
Okay.
done. I'm hoping like the next 2 or 3 weeks we get our world premiere status at one of these festivals. I have a good feeling about one of them. I'm thinking strategically, like of the 3 that we're gonna find out about in March, I think we're getting to one of them. The other 2, maybe not. But
Or
the
maybe
one,
yes.
well, but the one that I want to get into is gonna be a great venue, and I feel like it's a perfect fit. So I'm like thinking that will be our world premiere, which would be in the tri-state area, which is what I want because I want everyone to be able to come see it.
Right. Well, I definitely will be there. I can't wait to see it.
You have to be there.
Yeah.
You're in the movie a few times.
True. Yeah, I'm just trying to shake off this imposter syndrome. Excuse me.
No, the imposter syndrome, it's bad. I actually
crippling.
had to work with my therapist for a few weeks to even be able to go to the film festival over this weekend because imposter syndrome hit me bad.
Well, I'm glad that you got out of it, and
I'm still kind of in it, but
well,
it's
I mean,
better.
yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress, and most importantly, it hasn't stopped you from going on this writing binge that you've been on. I mean, every time I see you on social media, you're writing more scripts. Like, I don't know what's going on, but there's a fire that is lit under your ass, and I love to see it. I love to see you in your element.
Oh, you want to
and-
see the fire under the Is this kind of podcast? All right, I got films to pay for. Oh, Steve. He wants to see that fire.
Well, as soon as we find out what's some festivals to get submitted to and so on and so forth, we'll definitely put them out there on social media and all that. Can't wait to check it out. And also, I want to give you props, young lady, because of the film that you were in charge of. You created, you directed.
What film?
The one
What you
that
talking about?
you seem to be that just won a couple of awards in Georgia as well. So,
Thank you.
round of applause, real quick, Steve, for Betty. Now, I won't ask you too much because I know this is a film that you hold really close to the chest.
I am.
I don't know anything about it except for the fact that you wrote and directed it. Shoshana and Dan are in the film. I don't know anything about the plot. Anything. I know nothing. And I kind of prefer that because I can't wait to see what you got going. But what I will ask you is, if you can, not to elaborate too much into it, because I want to be respectful of your wishes of keeping it close to the chest. What was the inspiration behind it?
Well, Shoshana wrote a scene for her acting class, and it was called The AI Guy. And she wanted to do a little bit more with it. So we sat down one day, and it actually only took us an hour to write Betty. From that one scene, we took different elements from it, but then I don't know what happened that day, but my brain started to get really kind of dark and twisted, and then we just started saying things and laughing at it. And I just had watched a few British soap operas and documentaries and reading some things about incel culture in the UK. And that's not something that's really talked about here in the United States. It's more toxic masculinity that's talked about here. But the incel culture in other countries is actually pretty bad. For those that don't know, an incel is an involuntary celibate. And these are men that blame women for everything. They don't get their way. Women aren't attracted to them. They think everything is wrong with women. And I had just been watching something like that and just kind of going down the internet rabbit hole. And I thought, what would happen if it was this doctor that was actually an incel? So he wanted to take these AIs and create the perfect woman. But I didn't want to do it in the style of Stepford Wives. I wanted to try to make it a little bit darker. And since the whole horror thing started to get embedded in me, like, I said to Shoshana, let's just twist this.
Right.
So we started talking about all of these different ideas, and the ending that we came up with.
No spoilers.
No, I am not going to. The thing about the ending of this is once it gets out and it's shown in a few festivals or any of our friends know about it, everybody's gonna know.
Okay.
It's one of those endings. It's graphic, it's nasty, but it's also a little bit humorous.
Right. And I think that it's perfect timing because the subject matter of artificial intelligence is already consuming the world now, and it seems like it comes at a perfect time for you to tell this kind of story.
I'm very fascinated and terrified of how realistic AI is. And after we finished writing Betty, I ended up writing an entire anthology based around Betty. So there were two other parts to the story that we haven't shot or, not even in pre-production. I'm hoping to be able to shoot it to, tell the complete story. But then after that, I just started to notice there were so many AI movies that started to come out, and then I got upset because I didn't want anyone to think that I copied off of it. But it's something that really fascinated me, and I just actually finished watching the one with Megan Fox. What do you remember the name?
Subservient?
Subservient.
Subservience.
Yeah. I want to say Substance, but I know
That's a different one.
I love Substance.
Great
That's
film.
a whole nother.
Probably the most disgusting movie I've ever seen, and also brilliant.
I wish I wrote that. That's the type of horror that I want to do.
Okay.
That is just the way 21st embodies use. That Substance is me, and the whole time we watched that movie, I'm like, oh, I wish I wrote this. I wish this was me.
Yeah.
But I watched Subservience, and the way that the AI turned. It was great, and then he had me watch Ex Machina.
Oh, I remember Ex Machina. Yeah.
And I had never seen it. I'd never seen it, so I just kind of again went down another rabbit hole and just started writing.
I love that. I love the inspiration that you've been displaying, and I love the fact that you're sharing your art with the world that eventually is going to see it. I'm just very proud of both of you guys, and I'm very proud to know you guys, and not just being on my show, but actually seeing something in me that make you guys want to work with me, because I know that you guys are not you guys take this seriously. This is no flash in the pan. This is not no hobby or anything. You guys take this fucking seriously, and due to the fact that you've been allowed me to work in your circles, it's very, very humbling to me, and I thank you guys for that. So
It's our pleasure.
Thank you. And two-part question: where did Love Your Face come from, and what can we expect next from Love Your Face films?
I feel like that came from you. It was one of your company suggestion titles. I came up with a lot of kind of like technologically, just like weird things. Like I like just like techno babble names, and none of them were sticking. But we always said Love Your Face, and eventually, I think it took me like an hour of like letting it settle in when you pitched it. I was like, oh, you know what? That does work.
We actually named it at Smodcastle.
Oh, okay.
We were on a break in between blocks, and we were sat in a restaurant across the street from the cinema, and we were thinking of names for the company. And one thing is, whenever Eddie and I hung up the phone with each other, we always said Love Your Face, because when Eddie and I first became very close, he had a girlfriend, so we couldn't, and I always say love you to all my friends.
Correct.
And I couldn't say to him love you and hang up, and if she hears him say, oh, love you, that's not gonna go over too well. But my family used to always say, miss your face.
Oh, okay.
So then I started saying to Eddie, love your face. And then all of our friends in our circle, whenever we hung up the phone or said goodbye to each other, we just started saying, love your face. And if you actually really think about the meaning of that, if you see our logo, it's very gender and racially ambiguous, so that everybody can see themselves in our films. And it's very important to love your face.
Love your own face.
Yeah, love the skin that you're in.
Love that. And what other projects do you are on the horizon? Is there anything that you guys can talk about, or?
I think we're like in development of a lot of things, but actually this weekend you and I are going to be discussing what we're green lighting, because I am putting in like kind of a initiative that we shoot something in the next 2 months, like something new before any of the bigger projects. Like I think like a one for you, one for me type thing, and get those out.
We'll take turns directing. Eddie can do all the love stories. Just give me the horror. I actually, a few weeks ago, I wrote a script about my struggle with sleep paralysis. And I really want to shoot that very, very badly.
I think that might be, I would probably recommend that be your next project, just because in the span of the last like 6 months, we saw a sleep paralysis take at a festival, and there's a feature that deals with a take on sleep paralysis that I was potentially going to work on for another company. And the thing that, number one, I think you should jump on yours, because I think yours is unique. Yours is different. Yours is a lot less. It's so focused in on that solely.
Right.
There's no like there's no fluff to it. There's no like other like extra elements to boost it up. It's like solely focused on that struggle, and also you legitimately have had it.
I had
So it's not you
paralysis.
just overhearing.
Bad.
It's no secondhand. Oh, this is what people do. Like you've experienced it.
Yes.
So you can bring a certain type of fear to that. That's not about shocking music and shocking sound. Like you also said, the initiative for that was like you don't want to score.
No.
I think that's brilliant.
No score, just everything. A lot of people, when they experience sleep paralysis, some people have like that muffle sound in their ears. Some people have said it sounds like an airplane taking off. And I had like very distorted sound in my ears. So I really want to project that onto the screen. I don't want any music. I just want it to be, from the point of view of somebody actually experiencing it, so that when the audience watches it, I want them to, be able to feel what it's like to suffer with it.
It's going to be an interesting discussion, since I know like it's going to be the balance between like, do we get a post sound guy, or do we get a composer who will just focus on sound and just creating, because that's a unimaginable sound. So I'm like, that's going to be a fun post-production process for
I'll know
us.
the sound when I hear it, because it's going to terrify me.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to know more about it. I can't wait to see further projects you got going on. Love working with you guys. I've loved knowing you guys. Love your faces. Seriously, I really do.
Love your face.
Your beautiful, talented, lovely, deep-voiced face. Hire this man for all your filming. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Wow, see, I'm behind the camera. Hire this man for all your acting needs. He's lovely. He's talented. He's got a deep voice, and he's got a podcast.
Perfect. I'm Jason. I have a podcast.
All right. Well, anyways, we have one more segment that I want to get into. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for everybody's favorite segment. It is called This or That. If you've never seen the show before, what happens is I will ask these guys multiple choice questions, some basic ones, and also some tailored around them. So now you guys get to know a little bit more about them, and also put a nice ending on this episode. So, are you ready, Letty?
I'm ready. Letty.
Are you ready, Eddie?
Yes.
All right. So, by the way, it's no right or wrong answers, just what you guys like, and just an opportunity for the audience to get to know more about you guys.
So I don't get smacked if it's a wrong
No,
answer.
never. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go for this or that. Start off with you, Letty. Ladies first.
Okay.
Playlist or podcast?
No offense, playlist.
No right or wrong
Because
answer.
music.
Yeah.
Same thing. Playlist.
All right.
No offense.
Slides or Crocs?
Oh.
Never Crocs. God, no. I have never put a Croc on my foot. No. No slides either. Neither.
You have to pick, so I pick slides.
Okay.
Although I don't know, like Crocs could be comfortable, but
No.
I'm only going off of where I wore, so I'm gonna slides.
Beach or pool?
Beach.
Beach, 100%.
Dogs or cats?
Doggies. Even though I wear cat ears.
Cats.
Cats. Okay.
I love dogs, but a cat that's my spirit animal.
No, dogs.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl.
Night owl, hardcore. I can't get up early to save my life.
Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram. I can't even work the tiki-taki.
Instagram, I prefer immediate images and immediate moments than TikTok, which is so based on social media should be immediate. It shouldn't be work or involved.
True. I agree. To give or to receive?
Give.
All right. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh, come on.
The audience needs to know.
What do you think? I am 100% extrovert.
Introvert in the morning, extrovert at night.
All right. Batman or Superman?
I have a crush on both of them. See, I'm gonna have to do Superman because Robert what is his name? Pattinson?
Yeah.
Pattinson?
He ruined Batman
He
for you?
ruined Batman for me. My Batman was Adam West. I'm showing my age. My Batman was Adam West. And
Steve
then
loves it.
Michael Keaton came, and I'm like, oh, Batman, that's kind of sexy. And then when he came with his brooding wannabe goth self, sorry, no. So I'm going to have to go with Superman.
Okay.
And isn't Henry Cavill the
Yes.
new Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now there's
yeah.
a new Superman this year.
Oh,
so
yeah. I forget his name, but he's...
I'm holding
somewhere
off
else.
on picking Superman until I see what new Superman has to offer, so I'm going with Batman.
Iron Man or Captain America?
Ooh.
Captain America, because the new one's black, and I root for everyone black, like Issa Rae.
My ex, the one thing that she definitely imprinted on me was her love of Captain America. So once I got that crash course on what that character's like, I've been Captain America since.
All right.
He has to say it, it's Black History Month.
Are you glass half empty or glass half full?
It depends on the day. For the most part, glass half full, but I do have that half empty days in me.
One of my favorite quotes is, I'll just drink whatever's in the glass. Glass half full, though.
Would you rather be embarrassed or be afraid?
Be afraid, because then I can write a script about it.
I can hide my fear, so be afraid.
Would you rather be too hot or be too cold?
I'm always hot now. I'm in perimenopause, so I'd rather be too hot. Yeah.
I'd rather be too cold because I don't want to sweat.
Yeah. Would you rather do dishes or laundry?
Neither. God. Oh, God. I hate doing both, but dishes, because then I can put them in the dishwasher.
Okay.
Dishes.
All right.
Even though I'm not good at it.
Do you prefer the window seat or the aisle seat?
The window seat, but Eddie never gives it to me when we fly together. I always have to take the aisle.
The window seat because it helps my flight anxiety, but I gave you the window seat twice this past flight for the festival, so...
He did.
Okay.
He did.
Are you book smart or street smart?
Both. A little bit of both.
Book smart.
Okay.
When it comes to technical stuff, I'm not street smart at all.
Do you prefer reading or writing?
Oh, gosh. Now these days, writing.
Reading.
Okay. Cardio or weights?
Waiting for my tacos. That's it. Weights, because I want arms like Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Weights. I'm not a fan of cardio.
Me neither. Proof right here. Dancing or karaoke?
Dancing.
Dancing.
All right. Drama or comedy?
Comedy.
Drama.
Steven Spielberg or James Cameron?
Oh, Cameron! Yes.
Spielberg, because he has less of an attitude and a little more heart.
Avatar.
Wow. Shots fired.
Avatar. I'm obsessed with Avatar.
Okay.
Like I don't know anybody that's obsessed with Avatar, but
Martin Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino?
Scorsese.
Tarantino.
Do you prefer ice water or room temperature?
Room temperature.
Iced water. Ooh.
And then finally, teamwork or solo project?
Teamwork.
Depends on the team. If it's with Letty, it's teamwork.
All right.
If
Teamwork.
it's not, yeah. Otherwise, it's funny, up until recently, I've always liked solo, but if the right team is there, I'll do teamwork.
Ladies and gentlemen, teamwork makes the dream work. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this or that. That is going to do it for this episode of First Class Second Place. Thank you to my lovely guests, Eddie Lebron and Letty Buchanan, for coming through here. Real quick, we're up against the clock. Anybody you guys want to give a shout out to before we close out?
Yes, one person we did not give a shout out to was Dan, who played Dr. Banta in Betty. So we have to give a shout out to Dan.
He goes through a lot in that movie, and he puts a lot of himself out there. Yes.
And to Clyde and Callum, I love you boys. Mwah.
Aside from my mom and dad and you, it's like people scare me.
Clyde and Callum are going to get mad at you.
And Clyde and Callum, they're great. They're great. Clyde and Callum.
Real quick, we're going to guys find you on social media.
I am at Letty Mode, and there's also at Love Your Face Films.
Okay, on Instagram.
On Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Eddie Lebron. That's it. At Eddie Lebron. At Eddie LeBron for literally almost everything, including Instagram. Like, I got lucky.
No underscores, no apostrophes.
There's
or
no
anything
1,
like
2,
that.
3s. So it's Eddie LeBron.
Lucky. All right. Well, ladies and guys, thank you so much for coming
Thank
through.
you
This has been a long time in the making, and this is well worth the wait. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at I'm Jason Enrique on all social media platforms. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube at Jason Enrique. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week. This has been the First Class Second Place podcast. We out.